Good afternoon. We'll give everybody a minute to get into the meeting before we start. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today for our discussion of the Phase 2 application webinar for FY 26 and 27. My name is Heather Paul. I'm the Director of the Local Government Assistance Section of the Office of Community Development. Our office is administering the Water Sector Program. We also work with the Working Panel, which is made up of representatives from our office, the Office of Facility Planning and Control, the Commissioner's Office, the Louisiana Department of Health, and the Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality. Today, we're going to discuss some information about the program, the source of funds and guidelines for Phase 2 for FY 26-27, the application submittal process, and the forms that are in the portal. Just some general information about today. This webinar is being recorded and will be linked on the OCD LGA website, as well as the online portal where applications are to be submitted. During the webinar, please enter questions in the Q&A. Denise McGee is monitoring the Q&A and chat today. She's really going to be there looking for technical issues today, and then all of your questions will be compiled into a frequently asked question list and posted on the Water Sector portal website. And these will be updated as needed throughout the application process. You can submit any other written questions that you have to me, heather.paul@la.gov, and we'll add those as well. The Water Sector Program Phase 2 guidance, you can look at Act 410 of the FY 21 regular session of the Louisiana Legislature. That's where the Water Sector Program and Commission were created. Act 497 of the 2024 regular session of the Louisiana Legislature contains specific program information. And at the last Water Sector Commission meeting, which was held on September 17th of 25, the Phase 2 guidance for FY 25 or 26-27 was approved. I've put our website along with that guidance in the chat. They're linked in the chat. Some important dates. Today, we're holding the webinar for the next application cycle, and the portal will open October 17th, 2025 at 7:30 a.m. It'll remain open until December 1st of 25, where it will close at 4:30 p.m. The working panel will begin reviewing the applications once they're submitted, and they have until January 15th to complete the review. We'll be making recommendations to the commission by January 16th. And then the commission will begin their review of those recommendations between then and February. Eligible applicants are public community water systems. Those are systems for the provision of the public of water for potable water purposes through pipes of other constructed conveyances if such system has at least 15 service connections or regularly serves an average of at least 25 individuals daily, at least 60 days out of the year. A community sewage system is a system which serves multiple connections and consists of a collection and or pumping or transport system and the treatment facility. And those are the only eligible applicants. Ineligible applicants are for-profit public water systems and or community sewer systems. any water or sewer system that received funding in the other water sector program rounds 1 or 2 are ineligible with the following exceptions. If a system was funded under round 1 or 2, they may apply if they're going to consolidate another system, 1 or more systems. Or if the system was funded in round 1 as a result of a capital outlay application and didn't receive funding for the same system during another part of round 1 or 2. And this is pending water sector approval, but projects that were terminated by the Water Sector Commission. So if you were previously awarded and the project was terminated by the commission, you're still eligible to apply. They'll be reviewing that in the guidance, that caveat, at their meeting on Wednesday. And so we expect that that will be included. Funds. These applications are actually being accepted in anticipation of funds being appropriated in the next legislative session. So they should be state funds, but there is currently not an allocation set aside for them. The maximum for an application is $5 million per application with the following exceptions. Projects involving a consolidation of systems can apply for up to $5 million for the first system and $2.5 for each additional system included in the application with a maximum of $10 million. Or if there's an exception to the cap approved by the Water Sector Commission and the Joint Legislative Committee on the budget. Eligible activities. These are the following eligible project types under this program. Improvements to enable systems to comply with drinking water regulations. Infrastructure capital improvements, including the installation and replacement of failing treatment and distribution systems. Consolidation of existing drinking water systems to construct, improve, and repair wastewater treatment plants. Control non-point sources of pollution. Improve resilience of infrastructure to severe weather events, create green infrastructure, and protect water bodies from pollution. Ineligible activities include these: the development of new systems for new housing construction or developments, improvements to eligible water or sewer systems owned by federal agencies, improvements to eligible water or sewer systems to foster growth, improvements to for-profit public water systems, improvements to for-profit community sewer systems, and the refinancing of debt of eligible systems. Applications will be submitted via the online portal. Water applications will be reviewed by the Louisiana Department of Health, and sewer applications will be reviewed by DEQ. Applications will be scored based on documentation submitted and data available to reviewing agencies. Late applications will not be accepted. And once you've submitted your application, no additional information or documents could be submitted to the working panel unless they're requested by a member of the working panel. For recommendations, funding recommendations will be provided to the Water Sector Commission based on 3 separate tiers of the population of the water or sewer system. So if it's less than 3,300, 3,301 to 10,000, or greater than 10,000. So those applications are broken down and recommendations are made based on that. The population of a water or sewer system is determined by multiplying 3 times the number of active service connections. On a case-by-case basis, population can also be determined using census data. That's when for example, when a system does not service customers outside of the corporate limits of the municipality. Each list will include scoring criteria and a total score for each applicant. And OCD will denote applicants that are seeking a waiver of the match requirement and include documentation supporting the request, which we'll go over in a second. A 25% match is required for all proposed projects. Applicants may request a waiver or a reduction of the match in the online portal. Final recommendations regarding a waiver or reduction of this requirement will be made by the Commission to JLCB. State funds are not included as other funds in the match. You can use state funds in your project and they count as the total project cost, but they're not included as match funds. Your match funds can be local, private, or federal funds, and the match is calculated based on the following equation: the total project amount times the percentage of match commitment equals the amount of match funds from the system. This is the scoring criteria. There's a total of 140 points. You can see that project severity and needs is up to 50 points, which is the largest, and consolidation up to 20 points, resiliency up to 10 points, sustainability is up to 15, ready to proceed is up to 20, match documentation is 10, and increased local cost share is up to 15 points. We'll go over each one of those individually. So for severity, we will look at the existence of conditions in violation of the Federal Safe Drinking Water Act and provisions of the State Sanitary Code that most directly protect public health and the adequacy of the proposed improvements to eliminate such conditions. Compliance with federal and state laws and regulations will be considered. The verification of existing conditions based on records or previously conducted field investigations, and a lower score could result due to the submittal of incomplete or inaccurate information. We're looking at, sewer first and then water. So these are all regarding sewer. Again, the following information will be considered, but not limited to, in this scoring criteria: economic characteristics of the system area, system inclusion on DEQ's significant non-compliance list, system receipt of compliance orders or notices and or unsatisfactory inspections, water quality of the facility receiving stream, and cost efficiency of the project. For consolidation, up to 20 points. Consolidation of 2 or more existing water or sewer systems into one larger system. Responsible consolidated system must own, operate, and maintain all other systems post-consolidation. And the score is calculated in consideration of the average daily flow of outfalls eliminated. Sewer resiliency is up to 10 points. Completion of a resiliency plan, including local standards or guidelines that can be applied to sewer systems and increase resilience of the system. Resiliency plans should include extreme weather events and the effect of water and wind damage to critical infrastructure, as well as what must be done during and after an extreme weather event to maintain operating capabilities of critical infrastructure, and the inclusion of items identified in risk assessment and resiliency plan and cost estimate to increase resilience. Sewer sustainability is up to 15 points. These items will be considered: the technical capacity, which refers to the infrastructure of the system, technical ability of the system personnel to implement and operate the project, analysis of alternatives, including but not limited to consolidation, the managerial capacity, which refers to management structure of the system, including ownership, accountability, staffing, and organization, and the financial capacity, which refers to the financial resources of the system, including revenue sufficiency, credit worthiness, fiscal controls, and a financial strategy reflecting the full life cycle costs and adequate revenues to ensure the system is sufficiently funded, maintained, and replaced as needed. For ready to proceed, it's up to 20 points, and there's 5 points for each of the items that are possible. 5 points will be awarded if the agreements are executed or an engineering report is complete. So if your engineering or consolidation agreements are ready, or if you have a system improvement plan, preliminary engineering report, etc. Then there's another 5 points possible if the plans and specifications are complete and ready to submit to LDH for permitting. There's another 5 points that can be awarded if the LDH permit for construction has been issued for all projects involved in the application. And another 5 points will be awarded if all acquisition required is complete. And if it's only part of the project or portion of the proposed project, only partial points can be awarded. Match documentation is up to 10 points. Points will be awarded if documentation that matching funds are available to be spent is included in the application. And closing documents must be included when loans are being used as matching funds to be awarded. It cannot just be a bank statement. We did have that a lot last time. Just because your funds are available right now in your bank account doesn't mean that that's what their intent is. So make sure that if you're counting on that, you have a resolution or something like that to show that that's what the funds are for. The increased local cost share is up to 15 points. So remember that 25% is what's required. And then if you're going over that and it's 26 to 30, you get 3 points. 31 to 40 is 6 points. 41 to 50 is 9 points. 51 to 75 is 12. And anything over 76 is 15 points. State funds, as a reminder, cannot be used in the match calculation. Your other funds need to be local, private, or federal in order to be calculated as increased local match or as your match. For water, for severity, it's up to 50 points available. Project severity is the existence of conditions in violation of the Federal Safe Drinking Water Act and provisions of the state sanitary code that most directly protect public health and the adequacy of the proposed improvements to eliminate such conditions. Compliance with federal and state laws and regulations will be considered. They'll provide a list of existing violations. You'll provide a list of existing violations and issues to assist in the evaluation of the existing condition of the system and any available documentation that supports the severity of the existing issues. For example, personal statements from residents on the system, news articles, social media posts, etc. Provide an explanation as to how the proposed improvements will address the existing violations and issues of the system. Verification of existing conditions based on records or previously conducted field investigations. A lower score could result due to the submittal of incomplete or inaccurate information. Again, for severity, the following will be considered but not limited to compliance with state and federal laws and regulations or issues that directly or potentially affect public health, secondary contaminants, or inclusion of unserved areas. For consolidation, which is up to 20 points, if you're consolidating 2 or more existing water systems into one larger system, the responsible consolidated system must own, operate, and maintain all other systems post-consolidation. Purchase-only systems or bulk sales systems are not considered a consolidation. Applicants should include a discussion of the options for consolidation of the system with neighboring systems in order to result in a more sustainable, resilient system. Any agreement for consolidations that are in place or currently being executed should be uploaded with the application. Resiliency is up to 10 points. Completion of a resiliency plan or risk assessment an emergency response plan, including the local standards or guidelines that can be applied to water systems, and increase resilience of the system. Resiliency plans should include extreme weather events and the effect of water and wind damage to critical infrastructure, as well as what must be done during and after an extreme weather event to maintain operating capabilities of critical infrastructure. Inclusion of items identified in risk assessment and resiliency plan and cost estimate to increase resilience. The state sanitary code requires systems have standby power. A status of compliance with this code must be included in the application. Systems required to complete a risk and resilience assessment and develop an emergency plan due to Section 2013 of America's Water Infrastructure Act of 2018 should upload the plan into the application portal. For sustainability for water systems, there's up to 15 points available. Technical capacity refers to the infrastructure of the system, the technical ability of the system personnel to implement and operate the system or operate the project. Analysis of alternatives, including but not limited to consolidation. There's managerial capacity, which refers to the management structure of the system, including ownership, accountability, staffing, and organization. The financial capacity refers to financial resources of the system, including revenue sufficiency, credit worthiness, fiscal controls, and a financial strategy reflecting the full life cycle costs and adequate revenues to ensure the system is sufficiently funded, maintained, and replaced as needed. Resources for capacity development can be found at the website here. For ready to proceed, there's also 20 points available, and it's broken down the same way as sewer. 5 points will be awarded if the agreements are executed or an engineering report is complete. That's the system improvement plan, preliminary engineering report, etc. 5 points will be awarded for plans and specs that are complete and ready for LDH to permit. 5 points will be awarded if the permit for construction, the LDH permit for construction, has been issued for all the projects involved in the application. And 5 points are available if acquisition is complete. Only partial points will be awarded if plans, agreements, reports, etc. do not cover all the portions of the proposed project. Match documentation is the same as well. Points will be awarded if the documentation that matching funds are available to be spent is included in the application. And when it's a loan, you need to include the closing documents. The increased local cost share is also the same, up to 15 points. The 25% is required, and then 3 points based on the scale below. For project implementation, just so you are aware of what's, if your application gets funded, these are the grant conditions and the timelines that are imposed. Award letters should be issued within a month after JLCB approves the awards. We don't have a time frame on that yet because the funds aren't available. But if funds are awarded, in the next session, then I would anticipate awards be made in maybe August or September of next year, and then JLCB after that. So I would say September or October if there are funds available. The deadlines noted on this slide will be in place from the date of your grant condition letter that's issued. This is, again, the timeline for the application process. The online portal will open 7:30 a.m. on Friday, October 17th, and will close by 4:30 p.m. on December 1st to receive applications. We do not recommend waiting until December 1st or even the last week of November to log on and make sure that you can get everything submitted. there's different access depending on what your level is to access the portal. And so some people don't have the same access to submit the application. And so we don't want you to wait until 4 o'clock on December 1st to find out that you're not the person who can submit. So we recommend that you log in and make sure that everybody who has access has the right access, and you know who can submit. Once the portal opens, reviewers cannot provide feedback on applications. The working panel will begin reviewing applications on December 2nd and will provide funding recommendations to the Water Sector Commission by January 15th. All users must obtain a user ID from our office. You can submit the access request form to Phoenicia Favorite of our office. Her email address is linked in the chat as well. And the user access request is available on the portal website and on our phase 2 webpage, which are also both linked in the chat. The user IDs will be sent via email to the address identified on the completed access request form. If somebody had access before and they're not in your office before, or they're not in your office anymore, please submit a new access request. Don't try to use somebody who's no longer still working in your office, and please don't use anyone else's access. If you had access during Water Sector Phase 1 or previous round of Phase 2, you still have access to the portal. If you need to reset your password, you can do that on the portal. If you get locked out, you can notify me or Phoenicia Favorite. There are 2 user roles in the system. The first one is for the system. That's an employee or elected official of the local government, board members or employees of the system. This person will have access to their application only. They will be able to create, edit, and submit an application in the portal. The other one is a consultant. It's an administrative consultant, engineer, or architect. They may have access to multiple local government applications or system applications. They will be able to create and edit the application, but they cannot submit the application. Only the system can submit an application for itself. This is the user access request form along with the instructions to complete the form. Again, the forms are on the website or the Water Sector portal and on our website under phase 2. So one is the user access request form and one is the instructions. You can see in the instructions at the top, it also has Phoenicia's email where you can submit this form. The information that's requested is the information that we need in order to issue access. I just want to go over a few screenshots of the portal just to give you a better idea of what you're going to be doing on this part. This is the login screen for the portal. The website is at the top. It's also linked in our chat, like I said. Most of you would have an MID number. State has P numbers or PID numbers. There's also H. So you'd have your ID number at the top. So like I would enter P00 and then my number. And you would enter M00 and the rest of your number. And then you'll enter your password if you remember it or as it's issued to you. And then if you need to reset it, like I said, you can use the Wolf password maintenance at the bottom if you need to reset or change it. After you log in, this is what you see. It's all the applications associated with your system. And if you look over to the right, you'll see status. So the first one in this example is approved and the other 3 are just created. They have different water and different sewer applications and they have different rounds. and different either PWS ID numbers or agency interest numbers. So if you want to submit a new application, you'll click on one of the choices at the bottom, add new water application or add new sewer application. After that, it goes to the screen, which I realize is very tiny print, but this is what the whole application looks like. At the top, you'll have the option to select the entity that you're assigned to. So if it was a consultant, they might have multiple entities that they could choose from. If it's a system, you should just have the one, but it should show up in the drop-down box. There's contact name, phone, or email. You'll see you have the option to delete it. You can update that later on. You can add as many as, well, I don't know as many, but you can add more than one if needed. Make sure that whoever you put there, we'll add them anytime that we are requesting information, verifying information about your application. And then later on too, if you were to be awarded, that's who gets contacted. There's the application type, which is either water or sewer. Make sure that that's correct. And then you should be able to select the category that best fits your project type. You'll enter the number of systems and the population of the system based on our instructions. The grant costs are what you're requesting. You'll see there's construction, acquisition, and professional services, which is if you had consulting or engineering fees. So the grant costs are the amounts that you're requesting from the water sector program. The local costs are anything else. And you would even include if you have facility capital outlay funds that could go there too. It's not necessarily just your match. It's anything that's going into the project that's other than water sector funds. And then you'll have total project costs. That part will populate automatically. So you don't have to enter the total project costs. You'll just enter the grant costs and the local costs. This is the required information and documentation. So at the top, if you're consolidating, you'll select yes. If not, no. If you are consolidating, you need to put the number of systems that are involved in the application. The next section is for increased local cost share. Remember, it shows you how to calculate that. There's even an example. If you're not sure about that, you can contact us. We'll be happy to help you. And then, so it asks you, are you willing to provide over 25% match? You'll put yes or no, and then the total local match percentage and the source of match. So you'll either need to put general fund, private loan, CDBG, whatever the source is. And then, is there documentation that match funds are available to be spent? It's either yes or no. And if it's yes, you need to upload what that documentation is. Remember, we don't want just a bank statement. We need a letter saying that the funds are available, or a resolution, closing documents for a loan, something like that. If you're not able to meet the 25% match, you can request a waiver. And you might have a 10% match at the top, but you still need to request a partial waiver. So remember, you can do it the whole thing or just a part. And then you need to upload documentation as to why the system can't provide the match required. And then, oh, sorry, I was trying to scroll. The ready to proceed, you can add the documents, upload the documents for each category. Make sure that it's labeled clearly. This is for acquisition. This is the plans and specs, whichever part you're uploading for. For ready to proceed, make sure that that is identified clearly and that you're uploading the right thing. Remember, there's a total of 4 things that are possible, but it depends how many projects are included in this request as to how many uploads you'll have there. The detailed cost estimate is the next section. Include a detailed cost estimate prepared, signed, and stamped by a professional engineer licensed in the state of Louisiana. It needs to contain all of the items listed here in that section. There's a maximum of 10% allowed for construction contingencies, and the total on the cost estimate must match the request above. Remember on this section here. So your cost estimate should match that. And then be sure that your cost estimate also includes all sources and uses of funds. For the additional required information section down at the bottom, you'll select either the water or the sewer link and upload the required information there. For supporting documentation, it's anything else that you have to back up your application. Don't assume that LDH or DEQ know anything about your system, or think that they already have all the information, so you don't need to include it in this application. Put anything relevant here and make sure that it's included somewhere. These are the different sections, or the forms for different sections. This is the project severity. You'll see it's a narrative. And just make sure that you're reading each one of these sections and including all of the information that's requested, anything relevant to your application, and make sure that you're following the directions. So this one is consolidation, resiliency. Again, everything is broken down, what you need to include for each system type, and that and then it gets uploaded back to the portal. These are the resources that are available. Our website has all of the forms you need, like the user access form. It links the portal. And then there's the portal itself. Our website has some of the historical information too, like on previous programs or previous years. So you can look at that. The application portal, like once you're in, you can see all of your previous applications and grants, but you can't really see like the guidance or anything from previous years in case you want to compare something. And then I've just linked here, and it's in the chat too, a portal demonstration that Tracy did of the phase 2 application. If you want to watch like step by step how to do it, you can go click there. I cropped the beginning, so once you click on it, it's her doing demonstration. So that's a good resource for you if you need to go back and look at that. Tips for completing your application. Your application is going to time out. So click save often. I would do it for each section, or anytime you're taking, a little bit of time, I would just keep doing it really obnoxiously often. So make sure that you're submitting the risk assessment and resiliency plan in order to receive resiliency points. Upload documents in the correct place. Make sure that you're using easily identifiable names, and don't submit the same application as last time and expect better results. If you have questions about any of the application portal information or application or the guidance, please be sure to submit those to me, heather.paul@la.gov, before Friday, and we will post those in the FAQs. This is the contact information. I'm going to update it. I need to add one more for a DEQ staffer, but these are the different offices and who you should contact for each one. I'm going to put this on the portal and on our website so you can have this information. But like I said, I'm going to add one more person to DEQ before I do that. This is our Facebook page. So if you look up LAOCD, you should be able to find us easily. We post a lot of reminders and information about water sector program and also the other programs that are available in our office. Thank you all for joining us today. We appreciate your time and look forward to working with you.